In 2004, Hollywood witnessed a strange turning point in the love lives of Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi. At the time, Ellen was still in a long-term relationship with photographer Alexandra Hedison. They had even held a commitment ceremony resembling a wedding. Portia, meanwhile, was with Francesca Gregorini, daughter of singer Barbara Bach. Both couples were considered solid, mature relationships destined to last. And yet, in a single moment, everything collapsed. Portia later admitted, "It was love at first sight. I knew right away Ellen was the one I wanted to be with. But to embrace that truth, I hurt other people and myself." A confession at once romantic and ruthless, because behind the glow of love at first sight was the wreckage of past relationships and the pain of those who once believed they were the only one. Hedison quietly withdrew, while Gregorini endured the sting of watching Portia walk away. The tabloids wasted no time, calling it one of Hollywood's boldest love swaps. The question wasn't whether Ellen and Portia would end up together, but rather what price they paid to do so. In an industry accustomed to whirlwind flings, the affair still sent shockwaves. Ellen was already an openly gay icon, while Portia was still closeted. The moment Portia stepped into the light, everything seemed to explode. For older audiences at the time, it was a hard drama to digest. Ellen, long beloved for her humor and warmth, suddenly stood at the center of a scandalous romance. Portia, the blonde actress from Ally McBeal, was instantly branded the other woman. The American press favored one word: messy. And that was exactly the picture of 2004 two relationships ending to make way for another. But beneath the tabloid frenzy, the story was more than just drama. Ellen had already endured heartbreak when Anne Heche left her to marry a man, turning Ellen into a public punchline. She lost contracts and was treated as a living cautionary tale for anyone daring to come out. Portia carried fears of her own. Her career hinged on silence, on maintaining the straight beauty image Hollywood demanded. When they found each other, the pull was irresistible. So the question remains, can a love that feels destined justify the pain it caused? Or was it the controversy itself that made their bond extraordinary, because it was never easy, but born of brutal choices? Hollywood has never been home to pure love stories. From the very beginning, Ellen and Portia proved that truth. If the beginning was controversial, the backstage stories only deepened the intrigue. One little-known detail came from Anne Heche herself. At her wedding to cameraman Coleman LaFoon, Portia. Then a fellow Ally McBeal alum approached her and said, "I'm going to go after Ellen." Heche, all too familiar with Ellen's storms, replied with an icy warning, "Ellen, isn't some pretty poster you hang in your living room?" A remark that sounded both mocking and prophetic. Another secret: Ellen and Portia's very first date. It wasn't a lavish dinner or a public debut, but simply driving around the city, hiding from paparazzi. To the world, Ellen was already the most famous gay woman in Hollywood. Portia hadn't yet come out. Outwardly, nothing was romantic, no champagne, no roses. Yet for them, it was pure intimacy. A small space where they could simply be themselves, without performing for anyone else. Those moments show a love built in the clash between public exposure and private secrecy. Ellen knew the price of truth. Portia didn't yet. On screen, she was the straight beauty male audiences craved. Coming out meant shutting the door on major opportunities. Ellen understood that, which is why she kept their early days discreet. But secrecy only fueled suspicion. The press dug for evidence, eager to prove the romance was a stunt. Meanwhile, the LGBTQ+ community saw hope. Two women daring to hold hands and face the world together. There was a stark contrast. Ellen had already lost everything once in 1997 when she came out, only to rise again stronger. Portia had never come out, only just taking her first step. In that fragile space, their love grew tender yet fierce. People imagine celebrity romance bathed in flashbulbs, but sometimes it's just two people circling dark streets in a car, searching for peace in a city that never stops watching. To truly grasp their love, one must also recall Portia's private battles with her own body. In the 1990s, as Ally McBeal made her a household name, she became adored for her icy glamour. Off-screen, she was trapped by Hollywood's ruthless pressure. Women had to be thin, flawless from every angle. Portia spiraled into anorexia, an eating disorder that dragged her to the edge. In her memoir, Portia revealed how she once survived on nothing but black coffee and a few sticks of chewing gum, then punished her body with obsessive workouts. The mirror was her enemy. Every comment felt like a knife. Inside, she was terrified, consumed with self-loathing, and saw no way out. When Ellen appeared, Portia didn't just find a lover, she found a lifeline. Ellen once said in an interview that she never cared about looks, only about Portia's health and safety. For Portia, it was perhaps the first time she had heard a voice outside of Hollywood's demands, one that didn't insist on weight loss or pleasing the audience. Having once lost everything herself, Ellen understood that life mattered more than image. And in that light, Portia began to believe she was worthy of living. Recovery took years, with relapses along the way. The press would periodically dig up old rumors, turning her private struggles into public spectacle. But Ellen remained steady, protective, a shield between Portia and those who thrived on exploitation. Perhaps it was that patience that made Portia not only love her but also trust her. And then came the relentless question: when will Ellen and Portia have children? In a society obsessed with traditional family molds, they were pressured to answer. Rumors of surrogacy, whispers of adoption, all demanded confirmation. Ellen responded with striking clarity. "We've talked about kids, and we've decided our love doesn't need that to be complete." A brief answer, but one that carried the weight of a manifesto. The shadows of anorexia never disappeared entirely. They simply receded. Yet Ellen had folded those shadows into their love story, not erasing, not denying, but quietly protecting. And Portia, instead of being just a Hollywood star, became living proof that love can be more than romance. It can be survival. On August 16, 2008, in their private Beverly Hills garden, Ellen and Portia were officially married. Same-sex marriage had only been legalized in California a few months earlier, making their wedding historic. The media hailed it as the wedding of the year for the LGBTQ+ community. A photograph of the two in white gowns, hand in hand, became an enduring symbol. But behind the glitter, they faced backlash. Traditional audiences branded it a mockery of marriage. Tabloids dredged up the faces of Hedison, Gregorini, and Hetche to remind the public of those left behind. Yet Ellen and Portia seemed unfazed. They knew the ceremony was not only for themselves, but for millions of others. As Portia said at the time, "I never thought I'd wear a wedding dress, but in that moment, it felt right." After the wedding, they became the face of happy same-sex love, ad campaigns, magazine covers, talk shows, all showcased them. But with that came a new burden: to always keep smiling in public. They knew that marriage was not an ending, but the beginning of harder tests. When their 2008 wedding turned Ellen and Portia into modern Hollywood icons, many assumed it was their happily ever after. In reality, it was the start of a new chapter, where their love had to coexist with fame, fortune, scandal, and relentless rumor. One of Hollywood's open secrets in California real estate circles was Ellen and Portia's obsession with house hunting. They quickly became two of the most famous house flippers in Hollywood. From Montecito to Beverly Hills, Santa Barbara to Los Angeles, their trail was marked on the map of luxury estates. They bought multi-million-dollar mansions, transformed them with Ellen's refined interior taste, then sold them for massive profits. Some called them real estate addicts. Others saw it as part of Ellen's power persona, not just a talk show host, but a bona fide mogul. Rumor had it that their constant moves weren't just for fun, but a way for Ellen to safeguard privacy, never comfortable once a home became too exposed to the public. But houses changed hands faster than memories faded. In 2020, as COVID-19 cast its shadow over Hollywood, the Ellen DeGeneres show, a daytime juggernaut for nearly 2 decades, was dragged into scandal. Former employees accused it of being a toxic workplace, rife with discrimination, bullying, and psychological abuse. The allegations spread at lightning speed, shattering Ellen's image as the Queen of Kindness in a matter of weeks. Ellen was forced to issue a public apology, but the backlash only intensified. Sponsors pulled out, ratings collapsed, and audiences grew skeptical. Through that dark chapter, Portia remained. On rare red carpets or at public events, she was at Ellen's side, her gaze steady on her partner. As Ellen crumbled, Portia began quietly retreating from Hollywood, choosing to be Ellen's anchor. Once courted for hit series, she walked away from offers, devoting herself to personal art and philanthropy. Rumors swirled that she had planned a major acting comeback, but Ellen opposed it. Her sacrifice was quiet but profound. Portia chose love over ambition. In 2021, Portia was rushed to the hospital. Public records described it as an appendectomy, but the press tied it to her past eating disorder, reigniting old fears. Paparazzi captured Ellen leaving the hospital, gaunt and weary, a far cry from the radiant host on TV. Headlines turned ominous. Marriage on the brink? An icon hollowed out? But time proved otherwise. They did not separate. Ellen stayed silent, made no statements, simply showed up. And that presence itself became the answer. After the Ellen DeGeneres show officially ended in 2022, the couple shifted focus. Rumors suggested they were preparing to leave the U.S. entirely, especially after the divisive election, when Ellen openly voiced her disillusionment with the political climate. By 2024, multiple outlets confirmed they were spending much of their time in England, far from Hollywood. One article even detailed neighborly disputes, as Ellen attempted to renovate an old house and faced resistance from the local community. Trivial details arguments over windows, paint colors, suddenly made them relatable. Just 2 people searching for peace amid chaos. That is the paradox. The more powerful Ellen became, the more Portia chose to step back. The more scandals rained down, the closer Portia stood. Together, they transcended a Hollywood that treated love as spectacle, proving instead that sometimes love endures by simply standing firm. If Ellen on television was America's best friend, smiling, funny, dancing with guests, then the Ellen behind closed doors was very different. Colleagues, former staff, even some friends described her as meticulous, perfectionist, sometimes difficult. One little-known habit, Ellen's obsession with cleanliness. She constantly changed furniture, not out of boredom, but to erase old energy. One source recalled how, in their multi-million-dollar Beverly Hills estate, Ellen once ordered every sofa replaced simply because the colors no longer felt right. Portia, quieter by nature, was puzzled at first, but eventually learned to embrace it, even joining Ellen in her hunts for new decor. For Ellen, it was both a quirk and a therapy, a way to control the chaos of the outside world. Another controversy was their diet. When they married in 2008, Ellen and Portia publicly embraced veganism. But by 2012, Ellen admitted she occasionally ate eggs from a neighbor's chickens, and in 2018, she confessed she was no longer fully vegan. Hardcore vegans called it betrayal. Ellen, however, insisted she was simply being honest with her body. Portia stood firmly by her side. For her, the change mattered far less than Ellen's authenticity. What shocked the public most was not the furniture obsessions or the vegan debates, but the rumors about Ellen's personality. When the toxic workplace scandal broke, countless former employees described her as distant, cold, even intimidating in face-to-face encounters. Some recalled unwritten rules: never look her in the eye, never speak unless spoken to. These details stood in stark contrast to the cheerful persona she projected on daytime television. Rumor or truth? Perhaps a mixture of both. In show business, few can wear a mask forever without the cracks showing through. And yet through it all, they remained each other's anchor. Ellen was the unshakable wall in public, but behind the curtain, she was also haunted, controlling, deeply flawed. Portia seemed to find her purpose in accepting, balancing, and sacrificing. A couple that looked asymmetrical from the outside, yet it was precisely that asymmetry that created their strange equilibrium. Their love began in controversy, was sustained in secrecy, survived illness, and withstood scandal held together by understanding. Behind Ellen's famous smile were obsessions and flaws. Behind Portia's cool beauty were the scars of anorexia and the sacrifices she made to keep their home intact. Hollywood has seen countless relationships collapse under the weight of fame, yet Ellen and Portia endured. They never escaped rumors, never avoided scandal, but the truth is, they kept holding hands. That, in itself, was not just a triumph of love. It was a reminder that behind all the glitter, people are searching for only one thing: stability in a fragile world. And perhaps it was because their beginning demanded a decision ruthless enough to be honest that they were able to weather Hollywood's ruthless years. In the end, they remain what they were at the start: two people on the same ride, circling the city in a car, looking for a quiet patch of darkness where their love could simply exist.